Welcome. Today we're putting one of the biggest questions on the table, the kind that quietly lingers in the back of everyone's mind. Is atheism an escape? Maybe a shield against life's pain? Maybe a way to suppress the fear of death? Maybe the easiest exit from that nagging thought, what if I'm wrong? Or is it the exact opposite, a courageous decision to look reality in the eye? Whatever answer just came to your mind, hold on to it. Because I'm going to ask you again at the end of this video. And by then, a lot of you will have changed your answer. Today, we're going to look at this question through the lens of psychology, brain science, and the insights of some of the world's most influential thinkers. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Let's start with a truth most of us would rather ignore. The human mind is not fully rational. The vast majority of our decisions are shaped by unconscious processes we're not even aware of. We think we love something. We think we don't believe in something. But most of the time, we never notice the psychological forces quietly running the show beneath the surface. Modern psychology tells us something striking: people usually make an emotional decision first, and then justify it with logic afterward. The feeling comes first. The explanation follows. And this isn't just true for religion. It applies to politics, ideology, and every worldview we hold. So here's a question worth sitting with. Why does a person believe in God? And maybe the more fascinating question, why does a person not believe in God? One of the most provocative thinkers to ever tackle this question was Sigmund Freud. According to Freud, religious belief was rooted in childhood experience. As children, we feel small and vulnerable. We need protection. And that protective figure is most often the father. Freud argued that in adulthood, some people simply transfer this need for protection onto the idea of God. In other words, for Freud, the real escape was religion itself. Atheism, in contrast, was about accepting reality as it is, a sign of psychological maturity. But here's where it gets interesting. Some of Freud's own interpreters turned the argument around and asked, what if atheism is also a psychological reaction? Think about it. Some people develop a powerful resistance to authority figures. In psychology, this is sometimes called authority rejection. The individual consciously believes they are free and independent, but in reality, their mind may simply be reacting against old authority figures from the past. So ask yourself honestly, is rejecting the idea of God purely a logical conclusion, or could it sometimes be a psychological response? Now let's bring in one of the most fascinating frameworks in modern psychology, terror management theory. According to this theory, the human brain experiences overwhelming anxiety when confronted with the reality of death. And most people manage that anxiety through religion, through the belief in an afterlife, a divine plan, a meaning that outlasts the body. So how do atheists manage it? Through science. Through philosophy. Through human connection. Through creating their own meaning. Now I want you to really think about this. Which one is harder? Accepting a ready-made story that promises eternal life, or waking up every single morning and saying, there is no built-in meaning. I have to create it myself. Research shows that atheists tend to manage death anxiety by investing deeply in the present, building meaningful relationships, pursuing purpose, leaving something behind. So let me ask you again, is that an escape? Or is that the very definition of facing reality head-on? Now let's get to the most compelling data. Researcher Ara Norenzayan from Oxford University found that the human brain is naturally wired for what's called agent detection, the tendency to look for intention and purpose behind events. In other words, the brain appears to be evolutionarily primed for belief in God. What does that mean? Atheism means going against the brain's default setting. Being an atheist actually requires more cognitive effort, not less. Then there's the landmark 2012 study published in Science magazine by Gervais and Norenzayan, which found that people with a more analytical thinking style, those who question everything and reason systematically, show a significantly higher tendency toward atheism. So the psychology of atheism isn't about emotional escape, it's about more questioning, not less. And the pattern continues. As education levels rise, as scientific literacy increases, atheism rates go up. Countries like Sweden, Denmark, and the Czech Republic sit at the top of atheism rankings, and they also rank among the highest in well-being, trust, and quality of life. Coincidence? What do you think? But here's something we need to address honestly. Is the connection between trauma and atheism real? Some research does suggest that individuals who experienced intense religious pressure in childhood, or were harmed by a religious authority figure, show a higher tendency to distance themselves from belief in adulthood. But here's the critical distinction: this is correlation, not causation. Because a person's belief map is shaped by far more than trauma alone. Family, culture, life crises, intellectual curiosity, all of these play a role. Psychology tells us, just as belief carries a psychological story, so does non-belief. And reducing either one to a single label, escape or courage, does neither justice. Have you ever asked yourself, if God exists, why is there so much suffering? Most people who ask that question find themselves standing right at the center of the psychology of atheism. That's not escape. That is the search for an honest answer. Let's be honest with each other. Yes, some people do turn to atheism as an escape. To avoid responsibility, moral judgment, or social pressure. But equally, some people turn to religion as an escape. From the fear of death, from uncertainty, from loneliness. Both are deeply human. Both are completely understandable. Think about it this way: believing in God can be an easy comfort. But not believing, waking up every day and saying a meaning isn't given, I will build it, is that really an escape? Or is it one of the greatest acts of courage? Psychology teaches us this: the motivation matters, but the destination matters more. The real question isn't, is this an escape? The real question is, does this belief, or this non-belief, make this person more honest, more compassionate, more responsible? Maybe the most interesting possibility of all is this: the human mind is writing its own story, whether it believes or not. And most of the time, the biggest chapters of that story are written in the unconscious. So maybe the real question was never, does God exist or not? Maybe the real question is, why does the human mind never stop asking? Now it's your turn. Is the answer you held at the beginning of this video still the same, or did something shift? Is atheism an escape? Or is it a way of facing the truth? Write it in the comments. I think yes, because? Or I think no, because? I'll be reading the most thoughtful ones. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. And let me know in the comments, next video, the psychology of religion or how to overcome existential anxiety. Keep questioning. Because questioning is what makes us human. See you in the next one.